So good morning. Today is the 25th of Kislev, the first day of Chanukah. We already lit one candle, and it's the 26th of December also. Boxing Day? Yeah. I never understood. They have that in Canada also. I don't understand who they boxing. Yeah. Then I realized that it's the day when they put everything in boxes, and they call it Boxing Day.
Okay,
that's the reason. They box everything away. Everything that wasn't sold goes into boxes for the inventory. So that's what Biden's doing as well. Yeah, he's also on boxes and chavilot. Okay. So today we have something. I prepared the pages with the translation, but they're not here. I don't know where they are. So let's see what happened here. So now he's telling us that achor and panim. And so we're on the top of page 26. ובחינת פנים ואחוריים בנפש הוא כשהלב מתפעל בפנימיותו עד שנהפך ליבו בקרבו לחפוץ בהשם מאוד. והוא בחינת התהפכה. So he says, what does it mean to be facing forward or facing backward? He says this all has to do with the heart. Has the heart of the person been so influenced by the mind, by the pnimius, by the inner teachings, until it has transformed, itapcha, it's turned upside down. How? First of all, what do you mean it's transformed? How can you say it's transformed? He says, really, what it means is that he's now facing God all the time. It's not like it was before. Not to face God means that we said that I have faith. That's achoraim, I have faith, but I'm not thinking about God. So it's like we said, it's a difference between keter and dat. That faith is like in keter, and dat is that I have a direct connection with you. I know you. I come to know you. So what does it mean I come to know you? I know you all the time. If I know you all the time, if I realize all the time that I'm in front of Hashem, and that's like how the Shulchan Aruch starts. Shiviti Hashem nigdi tamid. I place Hashem before me all the time. So if I can do that, so then then I've done itapcha. So itapcha is the panim. It's switching from achoraim to panim. But that doesn't mean when he's in achoraim, when he's facing the back, like his back is facing Hashem. It doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in Hashem. He believes. It's just in the back of his mind. It's on the back burner all the time. When it's on the front burner, that's called being in the front. And this all is what's called in the Zohar itapcha, ad shenehepach libo. So first of all, there's something very important that we need to know is connected to Chanukah. The Chanukah is the holiday of turning from back to face. One way, that's a simple meaning of what it means to add light every night. That you're adding more consciousness. Meaning before, when I started out, the entire Chanukiah, the entire menorah was dark. It doesn't mean that I didn't have faith, because I keep the menorah in my house. Well, what do I keep it for? I keep it for because I believe in Hashem. But now I'm lighting it, means now it's in my consciousness. And the more light I add, the more my consciousness is now switching from darkness to light. But there's another very strong allusion to this. In the story of that they found a cruse of oil. So this word cruise, at first I didn't understand what does Tom Cruise have anything to do with okay, so it's spelled differently. But how do you say it in Hebrew? A cruse of oil. Pach shemen. So people who don't know Hebrew, they think it's a pach, peichet. But it's not peichet. Peichet is the trash. It's a pach. A pach that they found is peichaf. Peichaf comes from the word itapcha. Itapcha comes from pach. This is the holiday of itapcha. This is the holiday of transforming darkness into light. So here we're transforming what was in the back of our mind into the front of our mind. Okay? So we're taking it off the back burner and putting it on the front burner. And that's called Ve'azu ava b'ta'anugim. V'zeh sod panim. And then it's called that he is constantly in a place of pleasurable love of God. I add the word constantly, he doesn't say it, but it's explained in the Tanya that Ava B'Tanugi means that the person is constantly connected to God. He doesn't have to expend any effort He's there all the time.
Where was the Rotzon? A person can be facing Kodesh Baruch Hu, but still he has other Retzonos. Isn't the Tapra also a question of being only Rotzon of Kodesh Baruch Hu and not my Rotzon?
So very interesting. So I didn't mention this before, but in the chapter 1, when he was explaining the Ramak, the entire point was Ratzon, was will, and then he added, like as a afterthought, as a word that whether the pleasure is there or not. So the pleasure, right? So it was always playing, but the main thing was the will, because he said that mitzcha, the whole thing is that you have ratzon that doesn't have an explanation anymore. You don't have, and obviously you don't have the pleasure anymore. What's he saying now? He's saying that according to the Arizal's explanation, the point is to get to panim b'panim, which is to have constant pleasure. So these are two different motivations for how a person acts. It could be that he's acting from ratzon, it could be that he's acting from pleasure. Which one is constant? So he says pleasure is the one that's constant. That's what the Zohar calls Ahava b'Tanugim. And not the Zohar, it's a Shir HaShirim, it's a Song of Songs says this. But in ratzon we don't see that there's constant will. We see that you have no other will. In other words, the only thing I want is what Hashem wants. But it doesn't mean that I want it all the time. But pleasure is like a constant state. Now, with pleasure, we come into a different issue, which is what the Baal Shem Tov raised, that ta'anug tmidi and no ta'anug. That how can you tell me that a person has constant pleasure in Hashem if we have this principle that constant pleasure is not pleasure at all? And I've said this before, that there's no source in Chazal for this. There's no source in the sages for the same. Where did the Baal Shem Tov take this from? So this is a whole issue in and of itself. We'll leave it for now. But that's the question about Ahava b'Tanugim. So it's like a different motivation. It's whether I'm coming from will or I'm coming from pleasure. And it says pleasure can be constant. וזה סוד פנים. אבל כשלא הגיע למידה זו עדיין, ותאוות ליבו לתענוגי העולם הזה, but if a person has not reached this measure of itapcha, of transformation, of becoming Ahava b'Tanugim, pleasurable love, constantly connected to God, constantly conscious of God, and his heart is still full of craving for the pleasures of this world, not for the pleasure of Hashem. אלא שמחמת שמשיג בשכלו וגדולת השם יחדקו לקמי קולו חשיבה, וכי לא יעתה לדבוק בו ולעזוב כל אשר זולתו מנגד, and this is like the will, והמוח שלי תעלה בטבעו ותולדתו, ועל כורחו יענה אמן לקיים כוחו אשר יסכים ויגזור השכל. זה סוד התקפיה שבזוהר, הנה זו הנקרא אחוריים. So it says, what does it mean to be back-facing? That I haven't come yet to this transformation. I'm still in a state where I believe in God and I serve God, but I'm doing it through itkafia. I'm doing it through forcing myself. It's by coercion. In this, he's very careful here to define it, and we'll see in a moment why he defines it like this. And he says that the mind already understands God's greatness. And people think that itkafia is that I'm mindless. I'm just forcing myself. No. I'm forcing myself to now be conscious of Hashem because my mind understands that this is an important thing. This is what I was created for. So why I want to waste my life? So I know that I should cling to God. I know I should leave every other type of craving that I have, and I take advantage of the big principle Hamoch shalit al halev betivo, that the brain has control of the heart innately. That we have this innate power. So that is called being back-facing. That my back is facing Hashem. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that. It means that every time I put my mind to it, I can force myself to love Hashem. And it's not forcing because it's against me. No, it says I understand fully. It's just not in my consciousness.
That's almost like facing.
So I switch. So I turn around.
It's like,
but I turn around at that moment, and then I come back.
Yeah.
It's like one of these wind-up toys. It's like I run out of steam, and okay, and then I have to wind myself up again, and I have to do it again and again and again. Every time it's okay. So he's given us a tremendous hint here. What does he now said? והיציאה ממצרים בחינת האמונה לבד, בלי טעם ודעת, אי אפשר להגיע לגדלות המוחין ולהפך ליבו בבת אחת מן הקצה אל הקצה, אלא מתחילה הוכח להיות בבחינת התחפיה, כי המוח שליט כנ"ל. So it says in Egypt, even though they had faith, they couldn't yet be in a state where they were able even to do itkafia. They couldn't even yet force themselves to be facing God. So it had to be slowly, bit by bit. When did they do that? So they did it when they came out of Egypt, in the wilderness. That's what we described yesterday, the day before, that there's an intermediate stage between Egypt and coming to the land of Israel. The land of Israel is when you're completely tapcha. Everything transforms. Egypt is still when I have faith, but I can't even exercise itkafia. I don't even have an ability to coerce myself. So what's going on here? So what is he saying? He's giving us the Tanya, applying it or showing it coming from the story of the Exodus. It says, when we were in Egypt, we were begeder rasha. We were like a Rasha, like what the Tanya calls a Rasha, a wicked person. It says the wicked person of the Tanya, alavai lekol echad, that we should get to that level. Why? Because he says, arashayim meleim charatot. The wicked are full of regrets. What do they regret so much? They regret the fact that they believe in God, but they didn't do anything about it. Why didn't they do anything about it? Because they couldn't. They tried. But they don't even have itkafia. They don't even have the power to coerce themselves. Why? Because there's no godless moichin. They don't understand. It's like you can't expect someone who hasn't learned anything at all to be able to even force himself to face God. Why? Because it's the brain that controls the heart. If the brain doesn't have anything at its disposal to understand, so that was a state that they were in Egypt. In the wilderness, well, in Eretz Yisrael, they become a tzaddik. So in the wilderness, it's very interesting. That's the original Beinoni. So that's what he's getting at here. That the Beinoni is a person who's be'achoraim to Hashem. This is the definition that's not in the Tanya. It's a very beautiful definition. We need to elaborate it some more. So God willing, we'll elaborate it tomorrow. But what does this mean? That now we're in between lighting candles. After the sun sets, we can light candles. So until then, we're in the wilderness. And yesterday we already lit one candle, but then it ran out. So we're like a Beinoni. The lighting our candles run out. In the Beis HaMikdash, the candles didn't run out. Right? In the Beis HaMikdash, it was 24 hours a day. They would light in the afternoon and would last all the way to the next afternoon. If it didn't, then it didn't. But in principle, there was enough oil there for it to last until the next day. So there they were like a tzaddik.
What candles are we talking about? The regular candles in
the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. Chatzilog is half a liter of oil. So it's very easy for it to last a whole night, even if you take a huge wick.
What's the Ner Tamid? What's the Ner Tamid? I mean, isn't that the Western, the Ner Maravi?
That's probably that the Ner Maravi would never go out. That the others, it could be that it went out. But the Ner Maravi, and there's a machlokas which one it is. It's either the middle one or the second from the right. In any case, so now we're in the state of a Beinoni. Meaning we're getting ready to leave Egypt. We're like getting ready to get out. And when we come to the menorah tonight, and we turn ourselves upside down, but it doesn't last. It's the Beinoni's turning himself because it doesn't last until the next day. If it would last all the way 24 hours, if we would do it like that, then it would be like a tzaddik. For a tzaddik, it lasts all the time. The moment that he turns himself towards Hashem, then he's facing Hashem all the time. Okay, so let's end here.